fled violence in their home country, who had most of them traveled largely by foot across Central America and Mexico to reach our borders, really saw the United States as a place of refuge and came and presented themselves to federal immigration authorities, were released. And it was then that these folks that were working with Governor DeSantis started really preying on that vulnerability.
A Texas sheriff, as you well know, has launched a criminal investigation into these Martha's Vineyards flights. Your work, of course, focuses on the civil side. You mentioned earlier that their rights were violated, that there are civil rights violations. Detail what you consider those to be.
Our federal Constitution protects against illegal seizure, against deprivation of liberty. It guarantees due process and equal protection. We believe all of those rights were violated by this fraudulent inducement. It's also a case of a state interfering in federal immigration authority, and so we have claims based on that as well. But really, it all boils down to this idea that there was fraud and deceit, that our clients were promised jobs, they were promised educational opportunities for their children, would be waiting for them at their destination. And it was all deceit and trickery.
Governor Ron DeSantis makes the case, he makes the political argument that these so-called sanctuary jurisdictions, these sanctuary cities, are only feeling a small fraction of what border towns deal with every day as a result of illegal immigration. Take a listen to what he said in a press conference earlier this past week.
They don't want to have to pay any type of cost on this. And don't forget, this is an island that advertised to be sanctuary, and they said they didn't have the resources to take 50. Well, just imagine how all these other places across our country are having to be doing.
So what do you make of that argument?
First of all, the idea that this is a conversation that can be started by this kind of political stunt that treats individuals as objects, as political props, is wrong. If we're going to have this conversation about immigration and immigration reform in this country, it has to start from a place of humanity, of recognizing that people are people and that the lived experiences of our clients have to be front and center. But in terms of the actual reception to the migrants when they arrived on Martha's Vineyard, there was an outpouring of support from the island community and from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in general. We here in this state value people and treat them with the dignity and respect that they deserve.
What are you hoping to achieve with this lawsuit?
We want to hold the perpetrators of this stunt accountable, but mostly what our clients told us is we don't want this to happen again to anyone else. They tell us about the feeling of abandonment that they felt when they realized, when they stepped off the plane, that everything that had been promised to them was a lie, essentially. That feeling of abandonment, that feeling of despair, they've told us over and over again, we don't want anyone else to have to go through that, and that is the prime purpose of the lawsuit.
Oren Selstrom is an attorney with the nonprofit group Lawyers for Civil Rights. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well,